going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Oops, there's the folder.
They don't read those.
That's the payroll too.
Okay, at whatever time it is. 6:04, 3, something in that vicinity.
Yeah.
6:04.
You better go up to
No.
Okay.
I'll bring them home, burn them.
Okay. And I lost my agenda. Who took my agenda? No. I've got an agenda.
Should be on top.
No.
No,
Is it on the other side of that?
No. Oh, this isn't funny.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I think so.
Want mine?
No pastries, meeting adjourned.
Right here.
There it is.
All right. 'Cause I've already added all my things to do. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes from December 27th, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from December 27th, 2016 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, so under additions and deletions, we need to add a highway mileage certificate under highway. Under law enforcement, we need to add an accident report. Under old business, and budget review, we need to add a discussion about Wyndham solid waste management fee. And under other business, we need to set the rate for the mileage reimbursement. Let's Are there any other additions or deletions?
That's all I had at the moment. It's still early yet.
Either one of you?
Nope.
Then hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to take the agenda out of order and take members of the public first.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion about that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. So, ladies, I don't really know how to begin this discussion. We've asked you here because Newbrook Fire has begun to charge the town of Townshend for assist calls to Valley Cares. And the question that we have, their assessment went up by, I believe it was $2,000.
It's not an assessment, it's a request.
Well, it's a request, but it's
Right,
getting to the
legally.
point where it's almost becoming a contractual type size matter.
The argument for the request is the service they provide, principally Valley Cares. Just saying.
And I guess the question to you is, do you have personnel on staff that could in fact handle that first response piece?
Yes.
So is there really any need for Newbrook to be there?
We talked about that a little this afternoon. I mean, there's not always a registered nurse, but all of our staff is CPR certified and trained in emergency management. So that would be my response. We are trained to, help people when they fall and when they have medical episodes that cause us to call rescue.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
But everybody knows first aid and emergency response procedures. All our staff is trained every year anew.
So with rescue moving out to the new facility, hopefully today or tomorrow, there's going to be a longer time before the ambulance actually arrives. And my biggest concern with the fact they're starting to more or less do us by call numbers to Valley Cares, or to set their request by those numbers, that with rescue being about 4 miles further away, that's going to give Newbrook more time to get up here, and we're going to see an increase in the number of calls, that the number of first response calls that they're essentially asking to be reimbursed for. And I was just curious whether you have the personnel to do it, and if so, why they're responding. I think that's the big question.
I mean, it depends on what side of the facility. So in the assisted living, we have staff on at all times. In the independent living, we do not. And there are calls to the independent
Okay, so it
living
could
building
be
also, and there would be no one there on our staff to respond to that.
Well, I think this is something we're going to have to look at, because as the population ages, we're going to see that more. And as I said, with Rescue moving to the new facility in West Townsend, the response time is going to be a little bit longer than when they were directly across the
How
street.
far is West Townsend as opposed to Newfane, I'm wondering?
It's about 4 miles, but see, with the way the dispatch will work, it will have to go through central dispatch, then be toned out before they even get into the truck to come, as opposed to Newbrook, who is, it's just, they already sometimes beat the ambulance, as you've seen. So depending on what the situation is with the ambulance could be out of the area, it could be up in a call in Wardsboro, it could be numerous places at any given time.
Right.
And we just kind of are anticipating, with them being further away from the facility, that it's going to take rescue longer to be there, which would prompt Newbrook to respond more often.
And what is it that Newbrook is asking?
They've
About a $2,000.
it was about a $2,000 increase. They're done under the social services,
Okay.
and do I have the copy of the warning information? I don't have the social services
I can
breakout.
get it for you, I don't think I have a copy.
But it basically talks about the number of assists to Townsend, mutual aid assists to Townsend, and it also refers to the DART, which doesn't have anything to do with you.
I mean, sometimes I have pondered myself when I've been there, and I'm the director, my name is Susanna Shapiro. They're actually in the way.
No.
And I hate to say that to first respond and help that we ask to come to the facility, but when Drew Hazelton and 2 other people are already there, and then the first responders come to the scene too, and we have our own staff and other onlookers because a lot of people live in the house. It becomes overwhelming, and there's nothing for them to do. When rescue's already there, they don't need to come.
Well, and
they don't need to stay.
We've certainly found that situation. I'm also the chairman of Rescue,
Yeah.
which is, I'm kind of on both sides of this
Yeah.
fence. And what we have found, when Rescue went into the hospital, into the facility at the hospital, they were beating Newbrook. Prior to that, they had to wait for an ambulance. Newbrook was the first on the scene, always with the medical response. Once Rescue moved into the hospital, that's kind of flipped over on its head. So yes, a lot of times Rescue will beat the first response squad. And I can understand that, and suddenly you have a lot of warm bodies in a small area, and that does get confusing. But again, the biggest concern was with Rescue moving out to the new facility, if in fact that wasn't going to just kind of exacerbate the problem.
It would be good to know and know what the numbers look like before we anticipate.
I think there were numbers.
Yeah.
Will happen.
How many calls to Townsend
2 minutes.
are Valley Cares, and how
And
many?
well, when I spoke to the trustee, one of the trustees from Newbrook, the response that I got was the majority of the calls that they are responding to, because they don't keep a squad stationed down there. They have to bring them in from work. And that the majority of the calls they were going to were in fact for Valley Cares. It was lift assists,
They happen.
that type of thing.
Yeah, they do happen.
You know, because
Not often though.
the rescue squad, needless to say, with 2 people, a lot of times can't do a lift on their own. They need assistance.
I mean, it would be counted on one hand for the amount in a year, I think, where we call for lift assist. I don't know exactly, but it's not very often. Not at all very often.
This is the original request, but I don't think the
Oh, well,
description changed.
Yeah.
The description's the same.
Just to add some levity to this situation, when we first got this request from Newbrook Flyer, the request for the social service amount was $39,000.
35.
Was it 35?
Yeah,
I thought it was 39. Yeah, no, excuse me, $35,000, which we don't even pay Rescue that. So.
What have you been paying Newbrook?
15, I think 15.
15, and I think they asked for, they actually, what, 35?
1,500 a year,
Yeah.
and they're asking.
It's a contribution.
30.
I mean,
Yeah.
Right,
They're
right.
They
I
went up
understand.
2,000.
And they're great.
Yeah, oh,
I love Newbrook. but they're asking for 35,000?
Yes.
Well, originally they asked for
It
30,
was a typo.
and then they
Oh.
changed it to 3,000.
They're looking at 3,500.
Okay,
And
that makes better sense.
But the rationale for it, she has,
is okay, an increase in consideration of increased call volume from Townsend, 35 regular calls plus 19 Dart helicopter landings, which you, as you know, are assisted by our personnel. That's what they're using.
But it sounds like that includes a lot of other social service activity that isn't just Valley Cares related, or I don't quite understand the
Well,
social.
I'm not saying it's all Valley Cares related, I'm just saying that when I spoke to the trustee about the error in the first place, that was the answer I got. The majority of the calls that they were fielding were assists to Valley Cares.
Oh,
Okay, and that's
so you don't
why
have any numbers?
we don't have hard numbers, it's
they
in a
should be
number of,
available.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
should.
yeah.
but I
Yeah,
could
they-
Is it worth
certainly,
it looking at the real numbers?
I'm assuming they're looking at, they're just the number of calls. I have no
Yeah,
idea if they're
yeah.
breaking it out or if that's an assumption.
And I'd be interested in a breakdown too for the assisted versus independent living, because to me that's really of importance, because if the majority is for the assisted living, then no, we don't probably need them to be back up because we have trained staff on the premises at all times.
Right.
So that distinguishing would be important.
Okay, so you would like to know whether it's in the assisted living or in the independent
Right.
areas?
Because I tend to think that there are more calls from the independent living because there isn't staff there to
Mhm.
help them if they fall or if they have other medical issues that they would call rescue for.
Okay.
Whereas in the assisted living, a resident would call
Would
for
call
the
the
staff
staff.
that's on duty. The staff that's on duty, if they're in doubt, they call our on-call RN, who then fields
Okay.
what should be done, whether rescue should be called, or whether they should just wait and see and we'll check them next morning, that kind of thing.
Okay, so we need to know which facility it is.
Yeah, because
And-
in the assisted living, there is that filter as to, you know, no one has to get permission to call 911 per se, but if there's a doubt of how a resident is doing in the assisted living, they always have the RN on call on the phone.
Right, so there's a little bit of a triage.
Yes.
And then we
Before
need,
rescue gets
Very
called.
good word
we
for
need
it.
to know the actual number of calls. Yeah, just,
I would
so that we're,
say
our Valley
facility.
Cares facility,
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be an important one.
Okay. I'll see what I can find and we'll get back to you with those
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah.
And the numbers, the total numbers for the town.
Well, I'm assuming that's what this is, because they separated out the Dart. We moved.
35 towns, 17, I'm sorry,
It really-
35 town, 19 Dart.
What does that mean?
You get to breaking down.
Darter
what
that
the-
helicopter.
Oh,
Yeah.
You get to breaking down what the increase is, that's like $160-something, well, a month to have them at least be in aid for you if the need is really serious, which you've had 2 fires
we have
in
certain
previous,
fair share.
years, so it's not, to make sure that they have their ladder truck ready to assist you at any time in any of the stuff that they have, is a pretty good,
It
pretty
is,
good,
no doubt, and they
service to
been
have on your
stellar
side.
When we've
So-
really.
Well, it's a good organization. that the tax-
Absolutely.
It
The
is.
taxpayer here picks up
Yeah.
a contract with Rescue to the tune of 33,000, which also provides, you know, that provides the primary coverage and there is overlap. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting
You
squeezed.
gotta have it,
And it's expensive to do,
Yeah.
but
no doubt.
Okay, well, I will certainly, if I can get that information, I'll make sure that you ladies get the actual number.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can have another discussion about it, because as I said, I fear that there's going to be more of it as we decentralize what we currently
Yeah,
have working.
yeah.
Thank you very much for
You're
the
very welcome
showing up.
anytime. I appreciate the opportunity to even meet you guys.
oh, you're welcome.
It was nice to meet you too.
Can I hear your names?
Oh, okay.
I'm Will Bissonette.
Kathy Hagee.
Rob Wright.
Okay, great. Nice to meet you all. Great.
Joe Daniel.
Craig, Joe Daniels,
Joe
our treasurer.
Daniels, the treasurer.
I see.
I'm Susan
That's the
McCord,
important
and this
job,
is
isn't it?
Suzanne Shapiro.
Highway foreman Kurt Bostrom, and Richard over there behind the camera doesn't
Hello, Richard.
say,
He doesn't say much.
Yeah.
He's gonna edit that out.
Okay.
Once we have some numbers, I'm just curious, what what are you anticipating
Well,
for us?
I think the more than anything, knowing that you do have one facility that has its own emergency response setup takes some of the pressure off of us from that standpoint.
Yes.
Now, if you had said no, that you didn't have that, the question would be, why not? So again, that's why this back and forth. Now we know that one facility is basically covered for the first response
Yeah, we
piece.
instituted, I mean, by regulations, we have to train our staff in emergency management every year. In addition to that, a few years ago, we decided to have CPR training for everybody who works at Valley Care, so across the board. And we recently had an episode in the dining room where a kitchen cook actually went and did the Heimlich maneuver and saved the person's life. So that justifies that expense.
Yeah,
Right there.
We have some Heimlich maneuver necessary coming up in less than 60 days at town meeting. And all of this drives a budget, which is the request of the taxpayer. And there are some interesting questions that are asked at town meeting, especially where an increase is 100% or better. So, yeah, we're just trying to field some. Get a dialogue going here and find
good.
out.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's always good.
Okay, well, thank you very
We'll come
much.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then moving backwards, we'll move up to the report, highway.
Let's see, we did that. And minutes.
Did,
And I have
no, I
a, you
didn't.
want that one. And right
Okay.
there, and that one I didn't circle, that's in the middle.
Okay,
Now, Dave.
okay. All right.
Easy,
So
Brian.
Did you have a report?
I really have nothing new, but
Okay.
if you have anything, I'll address it.
I have some questions more than anything. You turned in an accident report today?
Monday, or
Okay,
Tuesday,
Monday.
whenever it was. Bob dropped off.
Our vehicle,
Payroll.
somebody else's vehicle, what?
It's a state police accident report.
Yes. They took down some guardrails up on Grafton Road. Got the accident report from the state police. I called the insurance company. I have to meet with the adjuster so they can pay for the guardrails.
Okay, so it was
Not,
some property.
nothing, property damage, yes.
Okay,
Nothing we
okay.
did, yes.
Okay, I was curious because there's no real explanation as to what's going on there.
Well, Bob, I was gonna explain to Craig, but I was down with the rubbish and he wanted the time because of our new time payroll, so I was gonna bring it.
And,
I read it looking for something that involved the town, didn't see anything on there that said anything
No.
about the town, so I was just curious.
and we do have the new mileage certificate, which I'm assuming is nothing has changed on.
Nothing's changed.
Would you like to look at it or have you seen it? Or-
I have not seen it. I would have to compare it to the copy from last year, so.
Well, somebody's gonna have to compare something because it's not filled in.
No, it's not filled in, it just arrived.
Well, how
There
are
to
we,
go, usually Kurt looks at it and,
I was gonna say, then why is it on my table to approve if in fact it's not filled out?
well, because we got time, it's just on the agenda that it arrived.
No, I just compared
We
to
need to
last
deal
year
with
to
it.
make sure everything is rolled forward.
Okay, because like I said, nobody's filled it in yet. So, all right, let's go back on the clipboard. How's
Yeah,
that?
it's a good place for it.
That's a good place for it. Then the other, this is a point of information for you. Just let me get everything put back so I don't get lost. With all the slips that you had last week from Chisosimo, you've exceeded your sand, big time. Just FYI.
Well, guys, I can't help it. The weather is kicking our butt. This ice is.
You've had.
I'm gonna have to deficit spend. I'm gonna have to go in debt because unless I don't sand, it's up to the town to say no and get more sand.
Because the board approved 4,000 cubic yards, and with those slips, they were not on the warrants for tonight, but all the slips that you turned in,
Right.
you've done 4584 cubic yards of sand. So you've already exceeded the sand for that, and we still got 2 good months left.
Right.
Uh,
You know.
Well, but I think we can be a little bit careful with it, because I did know the other day, when we had that little dusting, Sunday night into Monday, I mean, the roads are so brown, they look like dirt.
Well, we did sand everything. We sanded some things.
Okay.
We did sand everything. I don't sand unless we have to sand. And the guys, we sand the hills. What happens, that little scuzz rolls down, and you know what happens when it rolls down? It gets slippery. It turns to, you can't make it up one hill. Peak Mountain.
I love to watch you try to make it up Palm Hill.
I-
You take away my fun when you stand and talk that road.
I don't try to, believe me, I tell the guys, we've cut back on the salt, we've lucked out a lot of time, we've cut back. And if we kept having cold weather after we applied the salt, it would never have cleared, you know, the way it is.
Well,
Fortunately, it was warm after what we did.
The salt, we may as well just, we agreed to 450 tons.
Yeah. But you know, I got a problem, not a problem with that, but I went into the year with an empty salt shed. You know what I mean? I usually go into the year with an almost, not full, but 2/3 full salt shed, because we didn't put any in last year because of the budget and stuff. So I went into it with nothing and never had any from the previous
There was
year.
no issue with it last year from the budget standpoint, because it was such a mild year.
No, I was
Was it the
yelling.
year before?
I was talked to last year about using a lot of salt too, remember?
I don't think last year, I think it was the year before, it was with Carol, wasn't it?
Carol Mellis?
Mel's? When she was on the board?
No, I think that we talked to him last
No,
year
no,
about
that
it, but I
was
don't
last
think he
year.
exceeded the
I
numbers.
exceeded the salt
But
budget
we
last year.
made you
Did you really?
aware of what
And I
No
said
snow?
It's the ice.
remember we were plowing
That
for
one page
14 hours to
report shows
cover
the-
2
shows
inches
the
of snow.
springtime.
And
You have springtime purchases on there too, on
It
the
takes 6 hours when the storm stops.
the tally sheet.
It takes 6 hours to do everything.
Okay, so go backwards.
No, I was, but last year I didn't put any more in the shed, which we like to do because the price is usually lower and it usually keeps going up.
Well, anyway, it was 450 is what was
Right,
approved.
it went down because I always get 550 and everyone went down to 450.
I don't think just Irvin did it.
Well,
Also
I remember
support.
Irvin yelling, go down to 450.
Well, I'm just saying that right now
Was he in the chair or was he out of the chair?
right now you're at 325.
225?
So you're actually in better shape on the salt than you are on the sand.
Yeah, but that's only.
That doesn't-
That's only 3.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't mean go use the salt.
At 30 tons per, that's only 3 truckloads, yeah.
But that's just FYI.
It has not been, I talked to the state of Vermont, they just got 700 tons, say they use as much this year so far as they did last year.
I took some sand too.
The salt has been kicking the ice has been kicking our butt.
Well, that's good. It sounds like it's going to do it again.
It's gonna rain today and tonight, it's gonna rain Thursday.
All right, so
Monday and Tuesday.
Really, coming up?
And Monday, Tuesday?
Quick question about chains
Yes.
on the trucks. You guys are running them all the time.
Well, if you see us running them on a bare road, that's because we go onto a dirt road.
Well, I understand that factor.
Like, we'll take them off to go salt, unless it's in the morning and it's ice in the morning. Or in the beginning of the storm.
I just see you guys got them on all the time.
My truck, I had
You
changed.
got them on the front now,
I
you've
have
got them
them
on the
front
back.
because my rear brakes, I just got the truck back from delivery, the rear brakes were acting up with the ABS and stuff, and I brought it back for warranty. And I pretty
Just
much
we're
only
wondering why we're wearing the chains out left and right, and if they're on.
And if anybody wants to go for a ride with us in the truck, without chains on it on these roads, they're more than welcome to during an ice storm.
I don't think
Put it
anybody-
this way, I think we've driven on the roads a couple of miles through the years.
So you actually then don't have anything specific for us, you didn't
No.
report? Okay. That is all I had then. I just needed to know about that accident more than anything.
Yeah.
Because that
No,
had,
that's guardrails.
okay, that had no basis that I could tie it to.
Yeah, up on Grafton Road, Grafton Woods there.
Okay. And has there been any news about the grants, particularly Plum Road?
No.
About moving that pole or what's going on with?
Not the moves.
What about the inventory, the network
That's
inventory?
gonna be after this, so that's a lot.
But is it set now?
Yeah, it's still pending. Yeah.
So, okay, but you've already got your for lack of a better word, appointment made with whoever's going to go with you? Okay. All right.
You talked to Craig, Jeff, did you talk to Craig and they got that all straightened out? That was back in end of November.
Right, have anything else? Okay. Okay, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Good luck tonight. Hopefully it'll leave you alone and warm up fast.
It's supposed to get up in the 40s tomorrow, I heard.
Yeah, but
The roads are cold.
That-
the
I know.
dirt roads are just,
Well, and it's just gonna melt and then wash across the road and freeze when it gets cold
We
tomorrow.
got some ice dams going right now, some places.
Susan Brook is still icy, in spots.
Hopefully we don't have flooding.
You're at the bottom of it. Oh, well.
I've got some ice dams on my property, it'll wash down Simpson Brook Road before it gets on my property. There's some ice building up, we don't need rain.
All right,
No.
so then why don't we go ahead before we get into the rest of that then. Brian, did you have something you wanted to speak to us
yeah.
about?
I did, it's regarding the fire department. We're looking to run out of oil again, probably tomorrow. So we're curious about maybe putting another tank in.
Have you looked at prices on it?
I did, I met with a plumber this afternoon and he said roughly in looking at what we have, he could tee into what we have,
Yeah.
put one right next to it, we have space for it. And he thought it'd be
Above ground?
above ground in the building.
Okay.
Yep, and the fills would be right next to each other, if he can't tee them together, so it wouldn't be.
So just daisy chain?
He's looking to see if that's feasible as far as codes, because he thought they might have changed it.
Yeah.
No,
So I just replaced our oil tank.
As far as the fill, is that correct?
Yeah, well, the guy who was doing it was just talking about there were
Recently, a fair number of changes in code, particularly for dual tank. I don't have dual tanks, but we just happen to be talking about it.
Right. But I don't think there's an additional line to the boiler.
So it says tank?
It would be the single line, you tie the two tanks together,
Yeah.
same amount.
Correct. I think that.
You can tee them underneath, I think, but not the fills. You have to be careful so that you don't overfill one to bleed into the other.
I think that's the new regulation.
Yeah.
What size tank do you have?
I believe we have a 275
Yeah.
currently.
And you're looking to get another 275.
Yeah.
How long does the 275 last you?
Not long.
Well, that one was,
maybe a week.
well, no, it was about 2.5 weeks, I think.
In the last cycle that we've had.
Right. Right. Joe and I, we went one night and put 10 gallons in to keep it afloat so it wouldn't freeze.
Bill was probably
Who's
the
coming to fill it? They can't get there
It's Suburban.
in a week?
Suburban.
Come out of Greenfield.
What's that?
They're driving this route, it's on automatic fill, but they're not here on such a regular basis as.
I mean,
And
that
the suggestion is you get somebody more local, have
Exactly.
barrels or
come every
cover.
week and just put whatever we need in it. It was fine too.
Have you looked at any of the other providers?
I don't think we do that, isn't that town?
Well, we fill them, but I mean, it would.
They
that's
pay
it.
for them, but we.
Right, you're the one it's your building and you're the one that has to live with whatever you decide. You know, if you decide that you want to put another tank in there, you want it filled by, I don't know.
Coda.
Coda, right. Then you need to come to us and basically say that.
I mean, we need to set it up as a provider, everybody's gonna be roughly the same price. We have a little bit of a price break with Suburban because we get Selkirk pricing on our gas. We eat a lot of gas in this town. The highway garage uses Austin. They come out of Deerfield to fill that 3,000 or whatever that size of that tank is up there. But that lasts them quite a while. They only have to come once every 6 weeks or something. And Suburban was set up in part for that because we shifted over to Suburban here because they had the best price on gas. But the library was also using oil. They wanted a good deal, so we set them up, and I believe the highway and the fire department at that point in time didn't seem to be using that much oil. So it was convenient, but they're not up here that often. They used to come out of Manchester, now I guess they're coming up from Greenfield, he's saying.
Joe was saying.
They're not an oil company, they're a gas company, but they do sell oil, but it's not like they're doing it out of Brattleboro.
They started in Wilmington, Deerfield Valley.
Yeah,
Then we went to Manchester.
and now they're in Greenfield.
Then we came out of Bennington. Now we're down in Greenfield.
I guess the question would be, is it economical to have one provider just for the fire department?
Sure. Absolutely.
We could-
As long
we
as
could
your
certainly
price,
call
as
them.
long as your price point is.
I mean, personally, I hate to put any more money into that building. Personally.
Yeah.
The
I mean-
nice, I mean, if you- for example, if you did get a tank, I know this has been unusually cold recently, but we do live in New England, unfortunately. But if
You
you
can
were,
always change it.
that's true. I mean, we're in California.
There's a whole nother part of the country you can
Gotcha.
live in.
Wait, how long's your term?
I'm done. If you were to put a second tank in there, they'd give you $550. So on a situation like this, you'd be going what, roughly a month? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
On $550.
depending on the weather, of course.
So then
yeah.
you could actually piggyback with, say, Osterman or whatnot, because you'd be pretty much on the same schedule, I'm guessing.
I mean, it doesn't, the provider doesn't matter as long, I mean.
Right.
You know,
What's your feeling, Brian? I mean, what do you think that we should get one? I mean, I mean, is it in your budget? Is it?
He doesn't wanna come down at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday.
I don't blame you.
No.
Yeah, right.
Take gallons out of
That's
it.
exactly what happened. Joe and I did it, and it
Right.
was dark, and it was
Yeah.
cold, and no, it wasn't fun. But, you know, I kind of hate to put any more money into that building.
Well, the question becomes, is it more,
Fiscally viable to go with someone, say Coda, who's right up the road,
Just fill it every week.
and fill it every week,
Yeah.
or put a new tank? Like,
As I say, I don't think you're gonna see a price
Just-
differential
No,
at
I mean-
15 cents would be.
Well,
a lot.
worrying about fiscal, I don't know if Coda's gonna help us. But.
Right.
The price on the tank was $1,500 roughly.
We can probably get you a better tank than that.
Probably, that's just what I got today.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
you know,
And
Just to give you an idea.
there again, the tank could be moved. I mean, regardless, if you don't put any more money into that building, we can always pick the tank up and take it wherever you're
This is
going.
true.
We got 2 tanks in the basement, one of which is empty, and we don't need it. It doesn't leak.
Well, that-
As one possibility. I got one in my basement you can have. I mean, it doesn't leak either. Anyway, we can
Well,
work
if you
that
get
out.
in the
if
way,
that's
I'll
what-
take it.
I take
where were
it-
you a month ago?
I take it the underground tanks don't work anymore.
Supposed to have now the ground.
Yeah, it was supposed to be back in 2010 or 11, but.
So,
I
you
guess
know,
it's
if you want to talk to Craig and see about moving maybe the tank out of here that we're
I-
not using,
I'm not.
or talk about, you know, have Craig look for a new, the cost of a new tank. I mean, it's within your budget. You know, there's no reason you can't do it if that's the decision you
It's
guys
part of a
make.
bigger conversation, not putting money into the building.
Right, that's
Right.
that's a
Right.
huge conversation. And I do not want to have that conversation right now.
No, however, I mean, we can, like you said, we can always take it with us wherever it goes.
Mhm.
So,
Except just FYI, most likely the state's not gonna let you run oil anyway. Just, a little birdie kind of told me that
Yeah.
out in West Townsend.
I
That,
see.
yeah.
Can't afford the permits, let alone. Anyway,
Well, no, that you can't have oil. We wanted oil, we couldn't have it. They won't let us. It's not energy efficient.
that's another discussion.
Oh, that's a whole other discussion. We'll have that discussion sometime. But yes, why don't you just go ahead? You talk to Craig about,
we sold that 500-gallon tank.
now, that's what I was talking about earlier.
We sold that 500-gallon, whatever, that double-walled gasoline tank that had been sitting
Yep.
out at the garage for 5 years, and Kirk didn't want it. You know, it had its own little concrete well and all of that. That was a nice tank. Can't remember what we got for that. $500. I think.
I think
I
it
sold
was.
it to a guy over in, my best friend knew him, but I sold it to a guy over in Wilmington. Came, picked it up, he was happy. That was a nice tank.
So why don't Ryan will get in touch with you and
Wall tank.
I know.
see about getting another tank for the fire department. If nothing else, for this winter, they can stop having to make midnight runs.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah, David Diesendorf and I came in, I can't remember, 2012 or something, 2013, it was running through. He had the propane tanks up there to keep the ready heaters, keep something from freezing up.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
the boiler, I guess, went bad, and we're
Yeah.
waiting on somebody to put a new boiler in. But we're siphoning oil out of these tanks down here from the filler up here. It was a night like 2 nights ago, about 3 degrees
So-
outside, and
Yeah.
wind was whipping.
Just
a
so
little-
you know.
a little 6-volt pump going brrrr, just dribble it into the 5-gallon jerry cans and get it all over your freezer.
Awesome.
Okay. Anyway,
Did you want more money for that? Or?
I did, you know, back then.
Did you
So
have
we got like
anything else
20
for
gallons
us?
that
No,
lasts
that's
about 12 hours.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, then we'll go back to law enforcement. We already talked about the accident report. Town clerk, you all should have had a sheet in your box that showed counter monies.
Okay.
It's the one with all the little squares on it, so yeah.
Yep.
And I have to
It's
wait.
an
a minute.
interesting read sometimes.
Well, it's supposed to.
Not
I'll
tonight,
check
but
it tomorrow.
it is an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
read.
you might want to.
Okay, just to make sure. Because it was
Well, I guess we're not gonna have a treasurer.
Well, they'll come back at it.
He's got better business.
Okay. And so we're not ready to do the warrants. We haven't finished them. We've got the numbers. We'll have to sign them later. Will, are you ready? Are you comfortable enough to vote on the warrants even though you haven't looked at them?
I can
Let him take a look through them.
Yeah, let me just.
Okay, so we'll take, let's.
Actually,
let's-
are these the only ones?
Oh, God, no.
Just those two? You wish.
You wish.
Yeah.
Anyway, why don't we take about a 10-minute break just to catch up on the bills. So we'll be back at about
Second.
10 to. Let's go ahead and call the meeting back to order at 6:50. And we'll do the warrants.
Make a motion to pay payroll check warrant number 1 in the amount of $11,686.56.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying payroll warrant number 1 in the amount of $11,686.56 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 2 for taxes in the amount of $4,975.64.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying payroll tax warrant number 2 in the amount of $4,975.64 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 3 out of the general fund in the amount of $202.96.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 3 in the amount of $202.96 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 4 out of the general fund in the amount of $1,758.61.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 4 in the amount of $1,758.61 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 5 out of the general fund in the amount of $4,700.48.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 5 in the amount of $4,700.48 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 6 out of the highway in the amount of $7,423.74.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying highway warrant number 6 in the amount of $7,423.74 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 8 out of the equipment.
What happened to 7?
There was one that had 2 sheets. Are they separate?
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 7 out of the highway. What?
No, we're just looking for a paperclip to put those back together as a close.
Making a motion to pay check warrant number 7 out of the highway fund in the amount of $134.56.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying highway warrant number 7 in the amount of $134.56 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 8 out of the equipment fund in the amount of $7,225.57.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? I have discussion on this one. There is
Yeah,
a,
that's the.
yeah, There is a bill from, I believe it's Franklin Auto, or is it Delory?
With freight charge?
Yeah,
I think
is it Delory?
Yeah, it's Delory.
From Delory, to what appear to be fittings were brought or shipped into the garage, highway garage. The cost of the two fittings was $15 and there was $38 worth of shipping involved. And I think we need to,
That's the
again,
last one.
again, take a look at how important some of these things are before we go overnighting or overfreighting them.
Right.
We
Into
do
the
have an extra
garage.
truck up there. I mean, it's not like something that can't be down for a day.
Right,
Yeah.
but you know, that's just a lot, a $15 part, but essentially $40 in shipping just isn't right. Yeah,
15 for the part, 38 for the shipping.
well, two of them. They were $7.52 a piece.
It's a T-fitting, it's a quick disconnect fitting, $7 fitting. You can get it from Brown.
But,
Probably have one across the street.
but the $38 in shipping, it doesn't sit right.
No, it doesn't make sense.
I mean, not from a preferred vendor. We do a lot of business.
We do a lot of business with
Right.
them, yes, we buy our vehicles from them.
I guarantee you they don't weigh any more than that.
So, is there any other discussion about that warrant?
What do you want to do, not pay it, or?
No, I think we have to pay it because
Yeah.
they took the fittings, I'm just saying.
Right.
I think we need to make note.
For the future, we have to.
The note of
Talk
the
about
We've done this before. We keep making notes, what are our
Warrants-
notes gonna do us?
Warrants are always after the fact.
Yeah.
We're
Always.
gonna throw darts at the notes?
We could
Okay.
have a bullseye.
Well, second,
You made the motion?
Yeah, he has to second.
well, that's what I
He
feel.
did.
Second.
So we did discussion, so all those in favor of the paying equipment warrant number 8 in the amount of $7,225.57 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So, that's all of that. So now, Joe,
Yeah.
do we have enough money to pay for all that?
Yeah, I'll bundle on that.
Okay,
$891,230.18.
okay, we have done
And
the,
what's your count?
Well, there's 30,000 in the checking account, the rest of it is in
the sweep.
the sweep account. So it'd be 861,230.18 and 30,000 in the checking account. That's the max for that.
Any questions? All right.
You should take that piece of paper to an office in Brattleboro and sit down with a couple of people for a couple hours.
Which piece?
That piece of paper right there.
Yeah.
Get this straight down.
No. Correspondence, there really
Yeah, there-
wasn't any direct correspondence, was it?
No, just on an appointment that will be coming up after town meeting. It's no big deal. So,
Old business. So Rob, you missed at the last meeting, we had a meeting. Rob, you missed the last meeting, right?
No, he missed the budget workshop. But
that was Tuesday night budget workshop.
yeah, he was here for the last meeting.
He was here for last meeting. He was here for every meeting.
Budget workshop.
I sent your wife an email.
Anyway, so you were here when Andrew was here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to decide what to do about that because we didn't have a quorum.
I'd make a motion to give Andrea the $80, finalize it, be done with it, move along.
Second.
Is there any discussion on it? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the payment to Andrea Royce for the mailbox replacement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
Not to exceed, well, $80.
80, he said $80
Yeah, he
in
said
the motion.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So we'll get a check.
All right.
I'm gonna just quick add old business real quick, just because this was a couple of 3 weeks ago. They did finally come in. You do have your signs that you wanted, or want. I do have stands for them. I don't know how we're gonna stick them in the ground or where they're gonna go, but that knows, I guess.
Please, stick it in the snow first.
I think Andrew said, well, mailbox posters.
Yeah, I could use that, prop it up, sure, sure. We do have metal stands, I got 10 of them, they're about $15 a piece, not cheap, but they're all weatherproof.
see what, we'll see if that doesn't generate a conversation at the next meeting.
Okay, so before we get into any kind of a budget review, let's go on to new business and the Vermont State Police 6-month contract. The state police work on a calendar year, whereas the town works on a fiscal year.
Mhm.
So we technically, the voters approved last town meeting the expenditure of $20,000 for law enforcement.
Okay.
This is a contract for the second half of the year for $9,987.30. Total contract not to exceed $10,000. So I would entertain a motion to sign the contract.
This will bring us till June 30th.
Right.
I move to sign the contract for the Vermont State Police 6-month continuation of their contract.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that?
I just need that number again.
$9,987.30.
998,730. Okay.
Okay. So all those in favor of signing the 6-month Vermont State Police contract signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay.
I'll fax it in the morning.
Okay.
If you want to look at those tomorrow morning, the dates. I always manage to get them wrong, or not wrong, but I always like otherwise to look at them half a dozen times. But then it has a copy of the files. I mean, just the dates for election and, oh, that's what like.
You got the collections on there.
Sorry about that.
It's just a draft, but we're getting closer. If you want these over too.
I think I got them right.
Shouldn't we have both of their signatures?
Anyway, yeah, your collection of tax dates.
There's two people.
I mean, it's not up to me to make
Going
it, I just looked at the calendar and it seemed like the right times and dates. But that's up to you guys. And I'll change anything you want me to change. But I try to do it so it doesn't fall on a Thursday
Is that a liquor license application?
or on a Wednesday.
If it's an LLC, it'll be done by.
Well, it's on a
Just-
Friday, and then there's kind of like 3 days or 4 days coming the next week. So I mean, it's early this year, you may want to change it. But anyway, take a look at the calendar. You see what you and I need to think about that. Just to plug it in for numbers.
All right. It should-
Oh, it's the
It would be
renewal.
something to look into as if it's the rule. I mean, we can still sign it.
State Police Department report. Is it tobacco there too?
No, there's no tobacco,
Huh.
which kind of surprised me.
Yeah,
because I know
no,
they
it's
sell-
usually, I always put it down as a liquor license, but usually it's a double up.
Well, that's what I was looking for.
Oh yeah, it's two members of the LLC. Those are the two members.
Principal.
Only one has to sign because they're the agent.
All right, so we have a liquor license application from
3 days.
3J's LLC, the DBA Harmonyville Store. I would entertain a motion to sign the license.
So moved.
Just-
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the liquor license for 3J's LLC signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So we
That's just the renewal, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll sign those.
That's the second class, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it has to
Got
be.
it, second class.
Can't.
Well, we've had mistakes made in the past.
We have,
Well, until like first class.
No, serving liquor is first class.
Serving.
Yes.
Serving liquor is first class. Second class is selling. Third
Yeah.
class is just beer and wine, I think.
Third class,
maybe-
first class is beer and wine, on premise. Second class is
Real alcohol.
real alcohol.
Adult stuff.
Third class is retail, I
Yeah.
think.
all right.
I don't know. I have a copy of that.
No, it's fine.
I have a copy of the liquor license stuff in my bag because I tried to open a bar last year.
No samples there?
No.
Okay, so then, other business, we added mileage reimbursement. And Craig looked up, as of the beginning of the year to find out what the feds were allowing for reimbursements. We're currently paying 55 cents, which if you notice.
Until December 30, till December 31st.
We were paying 55, that's what that's based on, for Mike Bills. The new rate dropped to 53.5 cents. So I would entertain a motion to set the reimbursement rate for town officials at 53.5%, or 5 cents per mile.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of setting the 2017 mileage reimbursement rate at 53.5 cents, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So would you please let everybody know that there has been a change?
Put out a memo.
Thank you. Okay, so then.
Is there a way, like, should we make it so that the mileage rate is always tied to the federal, whatever the federal reimbursement is?
It's gonna give us nothing to vote on.
That's right. Takes one of those little
Kathy's
pieces.
gotta get a reimbursement mileage in for today and quick. It precedes.
I don't charge you for 9/10 of the running around I do for this town. Anyway, let's go back up to the budget review and talk about the Wyndham solid waste fees, because that was one of the areas in the budget that we didn't know where we stood.
I plugged in the original number just to plug it in, and that was at 21 or 22,000. We have a revised approved budget for Wyndham Solid Waste. You have the sheet. It's a two-sided sheet.
Anyway,
Yeah,
what
there.
it amounts to is Townsend's going to be assessed $14,224.30.
That assessment includes the next column to the left, one-time charge of $3,000 for closing the facility. And so the actual assessment is $1160. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
$1160 plus $3163 for the fiscal year coming, beginning July 1st, $14,204.30.
I thought they were closing.
They are closing, and they're gonna ask us to continue an assessment at 11, and they want another 3,000 from
To
us,
close.
based on per capita, to shut the building down and give the employees something to go away with, I guess.
So basically the question becomes, are we okay with this number? Do we want to plug it into the budget? And I did notice going through the budget that in fact we don't have any numbers for the recycling that we have to take on as of July 1st.
Right.
Not yet.
So, I mean, there's a lot of
There are
pieces to the
three big
garbage.
three big companies out there.
Right. So this number carries us through
This just keeps us as a district member.
until,
No,
oh,
there's no
for
until.
the year.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, it's an annual
okay.
charge to
All right.
belong to
This
the
doesn't
district.
start until July 1st,
Gotcha. Oh, right, fiscal year. Okay.
okay?
Yep.
So, you know, we do have a number. The one that was plugged into the budget was the 21,000
Mhm.
Yeah.
number.
That was with the
We
recycling.
had, yeah. So, I don't know what we wanna do, what we wanna do with that.
I can plug it into the proposed budget, and you can see what it looks like when you hit it, it's the bottom line.
Well, we're gonna have to do something about the recycling. because
I mean,
that's
you're
gonna
not,
be a
you're not
cost.
adopting this number,
No.
you're just telling me to put it in.
So I think for right now, let's
Yeah.
just slide that number and see what happens. And you all should actually have a new updated draft of the budget with all the numbers that we talked about.
You may want to mark that in the corner somewhere, just so you have a date or something on it, because you got so many of them, and you'll get more.
Oh, okay. Actually, it is dated in the corner.
Okay.
So that number is going to be 14. 125.
And what page is that on for everybody else?
6.
Page 6.
Very bottom of the page.
Oh.
Okay, Craig gave me my updated budget with all the changes in it early, and I did have a couple of things that,
Need to be addressed.
well, the independent recycling pickup was one of those issues that we need to talk about. We need to figure out where we are with the employer's expense, the FICA and whatnot, because that's all zeros.
Yep.
You
Well,
know,
we're waiting in part for your budget workshop the last couple of times that we talked in order to hammer out.
right, well,
And so some of those numbers we can now calculate.
as it stands now, the budget is roughly $33,000 less than last year's. But that's with no employer expense, that's with no recycling. I think everything else was pretty well. Oh, that's without you and I figuring out what to do about the electricity.
Right.
That's not in there because I've got a question mark by that.
We need, yeah, that still has to happen is plug in a municipal electric account.
Right.
Um,
So at this point in time, it seems.
It's pretty even levelly funded.
It seems to be.
Maybe 20 over by the time you figure in recycling and
Maybe.
all of that. Well, there's other stuff to
But it's pretty level funded. I didn't see much.
on the general fund side.
On the general fund side. I didn't see much change in the highway. I didn't see anything that caught my eye. So if we set that electric piece in, we get the,
Get some estimates
this
on
on
the
the
recycling.
recycling.
Yep. And we figure out the
Employer
and all
pieces.
the little plug-in pieces.
Yeah. All the
Employer-
insurance pieces.
employer costs.
Did you ever find out what the select board insurance is?
No, I didn't. It's right here on my list to be checked off. I
Okay.
have not gotten
I still
there
want to
yet.
know what that is.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, just so you know. So is there anything that just immediately jumps off the page, and or if not, you can certainly take it home and look at it, because we're not
Yeah.
gonna finalize tonight,
Right.
but, those were the ones that really caught my attention.
So for Will's, you're heading in that direction, but there is a warning that goes out for town meeting. These numbers that you're looking at, general fund, highway fund, equipment fund,
Yeah.
end up as individual numbers, more or less, in the warning itself. And then we subtract out any surplus or add in any deficit to see how much we need to raise by taxes. And we're nowhere near those numbers yet.
Yeah.
But getting a budget hammered out is the start anyway.
Okay. So are we going to, do you want to get together at a special meeting to deal with the budget?
Sure.
As opposed to at the next meeting, because it's a warning that has to be signed first.
Yeah, that could be done, what, 20 days?
Not more than
Not more
40,
than
at least 30.
30 to 40.
See, I read it.
But I think we have to leave the warning open until the 24th? For, warrant article, for
Any
petition
special
article.
articles, right,
Yeah,
any petitioned articles, I should say.
we can't do those.
And I've heard of nothing.
Oh, I haven't heard any rumors,
Knock
but
on wood.
I'm just, you have to be careful not to set it before.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
So why don't we figure out what date would work for everybody, I think, to try to get together to take a look at the,
To do the rest of the budget.
well,
Your agenda says the 17th is your next meeting. It's not, it's the 24th, so,
Oh, right.
I made that mistake in mailing it. But it's also a 5-week month, which means that in February, your next meeting won't be until Valentine's Day, which is a national holiday. But the 24th will
Valentine's Day is a national holiday?
Isn't it?
No.
Hallmark.
It's all right. Well, you
Lots
have
of
to
stuff.
understand, when you get old, you know, those pathways just start to erode.
I thought the importance of the dates got better.
Well, I don't know, does anybody have any suggestions when we might wanna, I mean, how long do you think it's gonna take to get some preliminary numbers for the recycling? Just
I can
something
probably-
to plug in.
I can probably get those pretty quick. I mean, there are basically three big recyclers out there. Triple T is one, Casella's is another, and TAM is another one. And Casella's was going to Wardsboro, they're not anymore. But I'm sure they,
Franklin is doing what?
Franklin with roll-offs and all that? Okay, well, I mean, there are a number of people to call, but I mean,
Right.
they're basically three mainline that other towns have been using. I
I
do.
think Good Enough does recycling too.
But
They might only do canisters, I don't know.
I think they just do
roll-offs.
roadside pickup, they don't,
Yeah.
yeah, we're talking about picking up
Yeah,
2 out of 3 roll-offs, 30, whatever they are, roll-offs, a week. I mean, this is a lot of
we also
trucking.
have to figure out what to do and start planning for the compost.
Well, there is that too, and
Dig a hole.
once,
I had a conversation with,
We gotta turn the camera off.
Oh, right. Rich, you're supposed to be on that.
anyway, there are a lot of towns that are in the same
yeah, and when is compost? 20.
quandary. The composting, I think, is coming up, actually, I think it's coming up this July
17th.
1st, that we have to have full-fledged composting facilities and start separating them. I think the obligation to pull food out of the trash is 2018.
I can't remember.
Yeah, and
That
actually
sounds right to
compost
me.
that.
Right.
That's gonna be, well, problematic for our attendant. We're gonna need clearer purple bags.
He's on top of it, Craig.
I know, and I don't mean to, but it is.
Don't judge.
Not, but it is gonna be problematic for a lot of outlying towns that don't wanna be attracting bears.
Animals, yeah.
Skunks and possums and raccoons, dogs and
I
whatever.
thought that was Friday night entertainment.
It is Friday night. But it's also gonna create
I make
hardship.
for a really good hunting season.
It's also gonna create
Just gotta
hardship
get the
for
big ones.
certain, because what the homeowner's gonna have to do if the station's only open on Wednesdays is segregate that out. Not just bag it and get rid of it, but I mean basically segregate it, bag it, and then dump it. It's gonna have to be biodegradable plastic bags, they're gonna need to be sealed, you're gonna have the bears and the skunks and the raccoon at your house for a couple of days. You know, I mean, not that you don't anyway, but it means another barrel, it means you're taking 2
Our bears
cans
need
instead of
stuff.
one. The bigger issue is the recycling. We can't charge for it. I mean, this is an assessment on the taxpayer that we have to, basically put the freight for.
Right.
When a lot of people aren't using it, they're doing single stream on the roadside, put everything in one barrel and somebody picks it up and it
Well,
goes away.
again, that is an option for us, we could certainly,
We just got we're not even into
I don't care if we just got
6 months into our
certified.
10-year.
We can do that, we've had this discussion from the time we bought the new bought the used compactor, that we didn't wanna get into it too much money-wise, in anticipation that things would get out of control and we couldn't handle it. And the question becomes, have we gotten to that point?
Yep.
I left,
Oh, I
I
thought
left,
you were asking.
Yeah.
I left the system a long time ago, so it doesn't matter.
$4,000 to get rid of.
The town hall will have bags in perpetuity.
One good fire out back.
Yeah.
Maybe all gone.
Well, I say it in jest, but I keep saying that. We need to find a ravine and start a fire, but just go tropical. And we can
Well, Kirk's got that big burn pile he hasn't touched in a long time.
get that, get rid of the ashes.
They got roasted.
Well, I don't know, never mind, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, so what do we have to offer as a town?
For the transfer station, we're a little bit off the grid. We haul the trash. But the law says now that we have to separate out compost in case people want to drop their Christmas trees off kind of thing, which is no big deal. I mean, I think somebody dropped off a wreath 2 years ago. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
People aren't going to bring bags of leaves and grass clippings and things like that. If they did,
No,
it's
that's
easy
why
enough-
we have fire.
it's easy enough to get rid of. If they have to take food waste out of the stream, then that compost pile, that is going to get
becomes an
nasty.
issue.
It's going to get nasty. I mean, you're talking, forget the bear, you're talking flies and whatever. I mean, it's just going to be nasty for somebody somewhere. probably down Harmonyville way somewhere.
You're moving to Brooklyn, aren't you, Joe?
Yeah, good spot, be, Sawdust Alley and Plum Road.
They,
Quite a,
Little Island, build a little island right there.
Yeah.
Just a little flat spot.
yeah, little platform.
A little hollow there, that usually
Keep
fills
pushing
with
it
water,
around.
and keeps it wet, and helps the, yeah.
Go for it.
But anyway, no, these are long-term planning things, I mean, we gotta be ready to go when we're ready to go.
Right.
I don't know what we're doing tomorrow morning, I mean,
But,
let alone
yeah,
6
like,
months from now.
You know, as a town, is there,
Put in my lower section.
like if we decided that we wanted to get out of the garbage business,
Right,
how would we, could we do that?
well, I don't know, you're about to spend $15,000 to stay in, and again,
Right.
getting out of the district is, I don't know how problematic that is, and I know Irv has very good reasons, he's been there since the beginning.
Oh, okay.
And being one of 23 members in a solid waste management district was very important for a couple of decades. Right now, it's not looking so important if we're a transfer station.
Right.
We have our district membership. They do provide a hazardous waste day, get rid of your paint and your oil and all that stuff. You can go there if you're a member town and you pay to have the sticker on the window and get rid of couches and metal and whatever else.
On the window? Uh-huh.
On the window, on the clipboard, on the mirror, where are you putting it now? I don't know, I haven't bought one in 3 years.
Come kick it off the back of your truck, you're all set. You know, so, yeah.
But I'm saying, because we're not using the recycling with them anymore, we never did, we take our trash to the Triple T, we take that to Breville Salvage. So, I mean, we're paying them $15,000 a year to take the household garbage. The recycling has been going to Women's Solid Waste, now that they're not doing that, you know.
But we have to by law provide recycling.
At no charge.
Yeah.
Now, the garbage that we take to Brattleboro Salvage is paid for by people paying for bags, and
Right.
most
Yeah,
of
so
it-
that's
most of it's a neutral.
mostly net zero.
Yeah, net zero, or close enough to it. But the recycling is going to be problematic. We do a lot of tonnage over the course of the year.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. By obligation, we have to provide recycling, and the legislature just keeps coming up with more and more and more.
Don't limit it.
We don't have to provide maybe as much. I don't know that we have to separate the cardboard and the paper. That can all go in one bin, and the tin and the glass can go in another one. I mean, we can do it that way.
Well, and that also
Compost.
depends on who we contract with.
And who we
whether they
contract
will
with.
I think
take it
I
like
think
that.
they're all doing single stream. I don't
Are
think
they?
any of them are doing individual containers, at least none that I'm familiar with.
No.
Which means everything would go into one bin,
Right.
other than the food waste. Now,
Right.
that's gonna have to be separated when we look at it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is something to be thinking about
Get
if
some
we,
goats and pigs.
if we could,
Oh, and they'll take care of your Christmas trees, goats.
Will
oh yeah. If we could get some numbers for the recycling, when would you all like to meet? I need to do something definitive with the date.
I'm flexible. Monday nights tend to be better for me, but it's not, none of it's a deal breaker.
Any day, just need to let me know.
I can't do the 17th, that's my other Tuesday meeting. So any day but that day.
Mondays
Right.
and Wednesdays are a little tied up between 5:30 and 7, basketball practice.
How about a Thursday?
24th is our next meeting,
Next
regular meeting.
Thursday it is.
You wanna do Thursday the 19th? Oh, is that, and aren't those the Women's Solid Waste meetings?
They just approved the budget. I don't know whether they've got more work to do or not. Second Thursday, fire department meets. When does Irv have? It's the second Thursday, isn't it? Yeah, that would be.
That's a 90 goes.
But that wouldn't be,
That would be when it's solid, it's second Thursday.
that wouldn't be a second Thursday, it'd be a third.
Right.
1, 2, 3, you're right. I was looking at something else, I guess.
So
that would be
19th?
Yeah, 19th.
19th.
Okay,
I'm
so,
on call out, doesn't matter.
so that'll be a budget workshop.
That's February?
No.
6.
Yeah.
Wear your pajamas.
Are you all done being bad?
No.
I didn't think so. All right, now, moving on. You all have a copy of the draft warning.
Yep.
I make no claim as to the accuracy of any of this.
We need to-
Everybody just needs to look at it. If you find a wrong date, something, let me know. I think the officers to be elected are correct, but again, I need to review those with Anita. I think the numbers that I've plugged in are correct. The select board didn't change its pay, but that's,
We did.
Article 2, to act upon the July 1st, 2015, June 30th, 2016 independent auditor's report. I may need to rephrase that.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to.
Yeah, okay, I'm just saying. There are some things to flag. Obviously, I have to plug in numbers where the big X's are. Joe's gonna look at Article 5 with Anita again, look at those dates for
The
tax
dates for
collection.
taxes, yeah.
Yep, everything else I think is okay. The number for social services is the one that was recommended, that's Article 12. The one for cemetery is the one that Charlie gave me. I believe that the fire department wants 10 for a pumper reserve. That's at the top of the page. And everything else is pretty much boilerplate. But anyway, have a look at it. And
Where's the,
right after the highway department, there's to see if the town will raise
Okay.
XXX by taxation.
I thought you were going to look for some numbers for that.
For the purchase, well, the number that Kurt asked for, I believe in his, I didn't look it up again. I think it was 125.
Yeah.
The board is gonna have to come up with that number. I mean, I can drive to Connecticut right now and for $80,000, get you a 2012 with 5,000 hours on it. Looks beautiful.
Is that on top of the 34
That's
you
a
already
seven,
got?
that's a 724. That's a 724 John Deere, brand new tires. I mean, 5,000 hours is a lot of hours, but it looks nice. There's no rust. I mean, it just looks clean. I'm just saying they're available to use for 30, 40,000 less than something new. And I'm not sure that 125 is a pretty low figure that Kurt's asking based on the trade-in value of the 544 we've got. But anyway, I can't, the board has to come up with a number. I can look at new, but the problem with new is there's all kinds of, I mean, do you want the 4 CD or the 6 CD changer? Do you want the heated
Old
seats?
mag wheels and, yeah.
Yeah, no, CDs are dead, man. We want MP3.
MP3?
Bluetooth. It's all Bluetooth now.
Hey, let me know. We can gussy this right
It's
up.
all ball bearings now.
Yeah, okay.
But that number is gonna be somewhere in the 120 to 140 price range, unless you're gonna look at, entertain the idea of buying used. It's a lot of money for a loader that only gets used to load sand and gravel. I mean, that's very important in this town, obviously.
Salt and
Right.
pepper.
Salt, sand and gravel, sand pit gravel, salt, sand and gravel. When in a couple of years, you're gonna be looking at, what were you saying on the grader? 3.5? I mean, we got some big, if you get a grader in 3-5 years, something like that, that's big money. Anyway, we can defray the cost of this with a Vermont municipal equipment loan up to about $75,000.
And we've got 29 in the equipment fund.
You have 29 in the equipment fund, and you have outstanding right now after December, I think probably 28, 30, something like that. You could almost pay off our loans right now with what's in the
30.
equipment. 28 to 30. I don't know how much is outstanding right now. There was
Oh,
36
yeah.
outstanding. There was 36 outstanding as of July 1st. We've just made a couple of payments, or a payment in December on something. I don't know how much it was. I can't remember. Should have made a payment in December.
Yeah, we did on one of the,
Okay.
on the 550.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
So if that was 5,000 or 6,000, then you're down to about 30,000 that's owed, and that's about what's in the equipment fund reserve account. That said, money is available obviously through the state.
Okay, so we'll talk about those specific numbers maybe, so
Yeah.
when we, at the budget workshop.
The problem is you're not gonna have the numbers to be raised by taxation, which is
No, I
the,
understand that.
yeah.
Which brings us to the other thing that I would like to talk about for town meeting. And the fact that the board voted to put out a flyer, since we aren't going to have a town report this year, because the numbers are not available, there is not an independent auditor's statement confirming the numbers. We did decide to go ahead and send the budget out along with the warnings. I think there's been a plan more or less put into place to do it in-house and mail it from here. I think everybody needs to understand that it's going to take an entirely different format this year from what the public
From the normal town report.
is
Right.
used to. There's not going
It's
to
not gonna be a big book with all this stuff.
the reports, for example, will all be available, but they're going to be available as independent sheets on the stage for them to pick up whatever they
Right.
want. And hopefully we're gonna have flyers that will show previous year's budget numbers, you know, surplus deficits by the time we get to town meeting, but
There'll be a lot of handouts. I mean,
Yeah.
there's gonna be a lot of information available. It just isn't gonna be in a format which is gonna make it convenient for direct mailing, other than the legal requirements of a direct pamphlet, direct
Right.
mailing pamphlet. So we'll try to keep that as economical as possible while meeting the statutes and
now, has there been any contact whatsoever from the school as far as when to expect their finalized pieces, their warning and their budget numbers?
They
I'm on your town report committee.
I think.
I know
in the,
he is, I believe, talked to.
Well, but they haven't,
With
they
regard to, we don't
they
have a
haven't
warning
finalized
yet.
their budget yet. I'm just curious when they anticipate signing their warning.
I haven't talked to them at all, because somebody else was running your town report committee thing. And this is, now I'm just looking at getting this warning hammered out, and getting a budget so that we can get the warning hammered out. I have not talked to the school, because I don't know the game plan on this, whether we're mailing their warning, which I assume we are, stapled to ours. And that's fine, but I also know as of the last minutes, they haven't gotten their warning together yet.
Well, we just went, I mean, I know there's been communication.
But traditionally, we're on deadline right now.
Yeah.
I mean, for a printed book, everything should be in here by the end of this week,
Right.
kind of thing. And I've not talked to them to say, we're not doing this, I have talked to the library and told them that they have a meeting coming up, I believe, next Wednesday. That they have a little time left in this month to basically hammer something out. We're not under the guise of getting to a printer and getting, 1,000 copies in boxes back so we can label them.
But the warnings themselves, I mean, that statutorily, that and the auditor's statement are the pieces that have to go out. Absolutely have to go out.
Yeah, and we have a deadline, and it's not upon us yet.
Well,
But it is in sight.
I know there just needs to be communication between all the different entities that we want to include in our pamphlet, like the library. I mean, social services is already here.
Yeah, and that library ends up just in the warrant. That's all they get. If they have a librarian trustees reports, those are gonna have to be handouts.
Right.
We're not mailing them. They can do direct mailing if they want, but we're not mailing reports. They have an article in the warning itself
Right,
for library.
who was I just thinking?
Their numbers will end up on our budget sheets, and we will have those available. But,
That's what's missing.
what?
That's what's missing.
Comparative budget?
Well, no. In our budget, there's no numbers whatsoever for the library in here.
Oh, no, I'm not giving you the library funds. If you want them, you can have them. Print out a 500 account and 550 for the cemetery.
No,
Go block it. Well, I mean, I'm saying there's something to wade through there as well.
well,
You got
but
enough on here.
if you're gonna include it in the bottom line, if it's gonna be part of our budget, or are you talking about sending it out as separate 500 funds and 400 fund?
No, it's just that in a usual town report, they produce a comparative this year, last
Uh-huh.
year. That's not part of the general fund account. The library and the cemetery are
Right.
separate entities. They usually do that. That's gonna have to be their handout or their direct mailing with the librarian's report and the trustee's report. If they wanna do that, that's not going in the pamphlet.
No, but if the budget should go in the pamphlet.
Their budget comparisons aren't necessarily gonna go in the pamphlet, I don't think. They asked for a discrete number, $46,050. That goes in the
Okay.
warning. Article, whatever it is, 6, 7.
All right, well, that's fine.
And then everything else is informational, shall we say.
Like I said, that's,
And that'll be available to residents and taxpayers well before town meeting, should they be interested.
all right.
We might even get some of this online, but
I was
in
just
terms
gonna
of-
ask
in terms
about
of- yeah, in terms of the mailing.
What are you going to put online, other than the warning?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm not even advocating, I'm just saying that the warning will go online.
I mean, the only.
There is potentially other information they could, but that's not up to me either.
The only.
The warning's the legal part.
The warning's the legal part, and
Right.
we're not putting the school's warning on the town website.
Okay, and that's fine.
That school's got its own website, so
Yeah.
therefore that
Yeah,
would be.
they can put that on theirs. The library actually has a website as well.
But they don't actually have a legal warning they have to put out.
No, but their budget numbers, their whatever, their reports. There are ways of satisfying the curiosities of
Well, I just,
residents and taxpayers and having information available to them without doing a book and a direct mailing. We're not doing a book, so.
and I think that's the point of this whole discussion, is we need to make sure people are aware it's not going to be a book. It's gonna be different.
Right.
And it's just circumstances that are absolutely out of our control that are causing that. I do have the McSorley-McCoy letter that's going to go in. You said you have the original?
I have the original on file.
Okay, because that's definitely going in there where they say they're suspending it. And then we're gonna need
We're
something
gonna need another.
for P-check.
Yeah, we're gonna need something
Okay.
on the backside of that.
Yeah, all right. So with the budget workshop set for the 19th.
6 o'clock, right?
Yes, please. I don't see anything else on the agenda, anything I've forgotten that,
Oh, where's the agenda? I don't think so. I think you're all set.
all right. If that's the case, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:35.
Second.
Okay, we're adjourned, thank you.